Vampires and humans have always coexisted, but the balance never lasts forever. They eventually wage war on each other for supremacy, but the vampires succeed and make humans their tools. During this war, we see a helpless girl looking at the scene of the murder of the two people that she holds dearest in this world. The girl could only watch as the ruthless vampires devoured her mother and father. She isn't even allowed to scream, as that would alert the murderers, and the efforts of her parents to hide her and her brother would all fall apart. The helpless girl, now a high school student, still gets nightmares of that horrendous and frightful night, even to this day, so many years in the future. After she snaps out of the nightmare bit, one of the students in her class tells her to take some sheets into the music room. As she's wondering why she has to be the one to do it, she sees a vampire feasting on the blood of some schoolgirls and runs away from the scene. The handsome vampire is known as Prince Roy and is very popular among the girls in school. The prince follows the girl and pins her down. Surprised by the fact that she didn't desire him in the slightest and was actually appalled by him, he forces himself upon her, but the girl doesn't accept him as the person who had killed her parents was also a vampire. She tells him to back off and scratches his cheek to bleed. As a result, Roy takes her in front of the whole school and tells everyone that she is his enemy. The girl sighs at her own misery because she is a helpless human, and against the authority of the vampires, humans cannot do anything. Roy's announcement instigates the entire school to bully her. She tries to run away from her fate, but eventually trips down a staircase, exactly like her life has been going downhill ever since that horrific night. As she faints, she apologizes to her brother Shaolin for not being able to do anything. Roy feels bad for the girl, but his previous experience with a human stops him from stepping in and stopping this madness once and for all. Roy once had a blood servant named Flay. She had promised to stay with him forever, but she just disappeared into thin air one day. Since she broke her promise, Roy thinks that all humans are bad and not trustworthy, and deserve everything that's happening to them. Later that night, Roy finds out that the girl had fallen down the stairs and was taken away by some delinquents so that they can rape her. He tries to ignore it all, but once he finds out that it was all Mayase's planning, he steps in and scares the boys off while also telling Mayase to get out of his sight. After saving the poor helpless girl, Roy brings her home and tells his servants to tidy her up and then put her to bed to get some rest. As he's getting out of the room, the campus chairman tells him not to be so flamboyant. He teases him about the fact that he is the one who put her in this situation, and he also played the role of her savior, two completely contradictory behaviors. Roy gets angry with him when he mentions Flay and leaves the hallway to go take a look at his new pet. However, he is surprised to see that nobody is lying on the bed and that the girl, whose name is Du Xiaoxin, has escaped through the window. Xiaoxin tries to run away from the mansion at full speed, but she isn't able to execute her escape because some feral crows keep following and bothering her. Roy sees the crows and comes to save her. Amidst the chaos, they both fall down a cliff, but Roy shields her so that she doesn't get hurt. He starts bleeding heavily and tells her to get out of the place, as he won't be able to resist the urge to suck her blood. But she refuses to go, as she doesn't want to owe a vampire any favors. She openly tells him to suck her blood, but he hugs her from behind and doesn't do it, as he thinks it's much more fun to have her owe him a favor. She gets flustered and tells him to take her home because she isn't feeling well in the woods. The duo walks hand in hand until a comment from Roy pisses her off, and she runs away. After running for a bit, she sees the hallucination of her brother, who tells her that she is now tainted by a vampire and falls unconscious because of the trauma. As she wakes up, she finds herself in the bed once again, with the windows barred this time. Roy comes back to the room and tells her that the woods is famous for making humans hallucinate, especially with things they don't want to see. He asks her to be his blood slave, but she flat out refuses. However, he threatens her that she could accept the offer or her brother will have to do it in her place. Meanwhile, Du Shaolin, her younger brother, comes outside and is really happy as his sister is coming back from school today. Xiaoling only has a few days to live as he has a terminal heart disease. In fact, he is the reason his sister has to go to a vampire-owned school on a scholarship so that she can save up for his treatment. As Xiaoling is going through this existential crisis, a girl comes up to him and tells him the current situation of his sister. Xiaoxin is still trying to resist Roy as she refuses to eat anything. He tells her that it's not going to help her case, but she just wants to go home even if it's just for today. Before he could find out the reason, her brother comes to see him. She tells him that she must not see her brother here as she is still traumatized by the hallucinations in the forest. He finds it amusing and takes her with him to watch what happens to her brother from behind the curtains. Xiaoling comes and begs Roy to release his sister. He tells him that he would take her place if necessary, and that he only wants her security. After talking for a few minutes, Xiaoling falls to the ground and faints from his illness. Roy calls a doctor and has him checked. The doctor tells them to hospitalize him, and as expected, Roy arranges for it all. After seeing that her brother is safe now, Xiaoxin faints from weakness herself. Once she wakes up, Roy once again offers her food and even feeds it to her personally. After eating a bit, she goes to visit her brother, and that's when the vampire prince sees that she can actually smile too. He tells her that it's time to go, and she quietly comes to him without any drama. The surprised prince inquires about the reason, and the girl curtly answers that she is grateful for what he has done for her brother, and that she won't run away now. In return, she just wants him not to put a damper on her freedom. Roy finds it interesting and allows it. The next day, she goes to school just as usual, as she is getting bullied once again by a few mean girls, and one of the members of the disciplinary committee comes and saves her. The disciplinary committee member tells her that it's okay now. He adds that he knows what's been going on in the school, and that she should stay with him if she wants protection from the bullies. He tries to get familiar with her and tells her his name, Senai. Roy sees all this and comes down from the second floor to take Xiaoxin's hand and take her away from the boy. He puts her in the bed and punishes her in rather non-punishing ways. He asserts his authority on her as his master and tells her to take off her clothes. However, after seeing that she is having quite a lot of trouble with that, he tells her that it's not necessary this time, as this is her first offense. However, if she's seen with another man ever again, he won't tolerate it. The next day, Sanaya tries to approach her once again, but she refuses to talk with him. After coming back home, Roy takes her to dance under the moon as practice for a vampire ball that's coming up soon. Xiaoxin starts getting nauseous when she hears about the vampire ball and goes away. Roy's friend teases him about how he is really taking care of his new blood servant, to which he doesn't really have a reply. Xiaoxin is getting anxious about the ball near the fountain where she runs into the campus chairman. The chairman comments how she is similar to Flay with respect to her long hair and throws her into the fountain with a look of disgust on his face. The chairman, who is Roy's brother, tells Xiaoxin about the fact that she is only a replacement for Flay and that she shouldn't have any expectations. He also tells her that Flay betrayed Roy even though he held her in such high regard. Roy, however, comes to the fountain and tells the chairman not to spout any random nonsense that comes to his mind. He takes the frightened girl's hand, offers her a coat, and takes her away. He also tells her not to be too bothered by what the other guy says, and to be careful and try not to run into him at all if possible. The doctor tells her that her brother's condition has suddenly deteriorated and she should rush here if she wants to be by his side. She gets extremely worried and rushes to the gate to go to the hospital. However, the gate is closed for her and she's not allowed to leave without an official permit. She requests the guards a lot, but she's unable to convince them. Sanaya comes there and asks her what's the matter. Once he finds out about Xiaoling, he tells her that even if he is a member of the disciplinary committee, he can't help her. But what can help her is a nobility badge. Sanaya tells her to steal Roy's badge and use it to get out of the school. When Xiaoxin asks him why he's helping her, he tells her that he once had a friend who suffered the terrible fate of dying because she was bullied by the vampires. He doesn't want that scenario to repeat again. She thanks him and goes to Roy. However, she's unable to put her request into words as Roy himself isn't aware of her brother's condition. She then decides to use the nobility badge method. After having a rather easy time stealing it, she runs away with some extra help from Sanaya once again and is finally able to get out of the school grounds. After running for a while, she reaches the hospital and sees that Xiaoling is completely fine. She hugs him by reflex, but starts to wonder that something doesn't add up in all this. Will Roy find out about the nobility badge? Will Xiaoxin ever get rid of the hatred for the vampires? These and many more questions are left for the rest of the episodes to uncover.